In the wintertime, I like to come out here to the compost piles and turn them every 2 to 3 weeks or so. I usually like my piles running about 120 to 130 degrees. And I noticed one has dropped down to about 65, 70, so it's a good indicator that it's time to turn them. We're also going to try to heat them back up, make sure they don't go anaerobic. So I'll show you what we're going to do here. Put this into perspective at how fast these piles actually shrink down. This one here has been full to the brim 3 times. And after the 3rd time, I'm down to about halfway again. So my system here, I build a pile here as big as I can make with the stuff I got. And when I go to turn this one, I try to incorporate all this back into here. Since I'm not in a huge hurry, it is winter time, it's going to have plenty of time to break down, and I'll have a bigger pile in the end. We can see some rodents have gotten in here, helping to add some nitrogen to the pile. I'm not too concerned with where I live out here about the rodents in there, and I've been watching the hawks come out here and eat them as well, so we're helping out the food chain. So first step here, this whole pile is coming out. You'll notice a lot of the stuff at the bottom here, you know it's broken down more. It is really compressed on itself. That's another reason we're turning this too. We need to break this up so it has room for air to go through it. If you were cold when you started this, you're not going to be cold anymore because this is a lot of work. This stuff pretty much looked like that over there when we first started. So after 2 months, that's not too bad out in this cold weather. So I'm going to start out by taking this. I'm going to fill this bin back up about 1/4 of the way, and we're going to assess the pile. You'll notice when I'm putting it back in, I'm kind of shaking it like this. That's helping break up some of these big chunks that are in here. I'm about 1/4 weight right now. Now is a good time to look and see if your compost is wet or dry. Look at mine. Mine looks pretty moist, so I do not have to add moisture to it. But if you notice this is dry in here, make sure you water between the layers. When I get closer to the center of my pile, I'm going to start adding some of this thistle tea. I made this in one of my previous videos about how to get rid of thistles. This has been sitting in a 55-gallon drum with the thistles in the water for about 3 months now, and this liquid smells terrible, but it is going to be great for the pile. I'm also going to start adding some of this chicken manure I got. If you notice you still have a lot of browns in your pile, it usually means you need more nitrogen. And during the winter time, you're not going to be able to get your grass clippings as much or your weeds and all that. So you can use used coffee grounds, vegetable scraps, any good source of nitrogen to mix in. Got a little more in, so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of this chicken manure on top of here. In between these layers, this is where you're going to want to add your moisture. Now I'm adding a nitrogen source to my pile because I have a lot of browns left over. If you go to turn your compost and you notice that it's really slimy and sticky, it usually means you got too much nitrogen. So you're going to want to do the opposite at that point and add more browns to your pile. But since I'm good here, I'm going to keep going with this. Add some more of this back in here. And then keep layering in that nitrogen from my chicken manure till I run out. I'm approaching the halfway mark right now, so this is where I usually put my plywood back on. It helps keep all this stuff together so it doesn't fall out the front. And that's basically all there is to it. Just gonna keep layering this the same way till this whole thing is full. I think by the time I get this whole pile in here, we're gonna be back to the top, or maybe 3/4 of the way. We'll be pretty close. Not enough room to disturb this pile over here. I do see some bugs and stuff crawling around, so that pile is pretty hot right now. So we're gonna leave that be. There she is, about 3/4 of the way full. Pretty close. All right, definitely sweating now after putting that back in there. But we added more nitrogen, we got more airflow because we have gaps between spaces in this pile, added moisture, got all the ingredients we need to make this thing heat up again. So keep doing this every few weeks in the wintertime, and it'll keep your piles nice and hot. Thanks for watching.